Hello and welcome to FPL First, giving you the latest news, reviews and tips on everything EPL and FPL. Thanks for joining me in this late episode of the EPL Game Week 5. I do apologise for it being late, but I've had lots of things going on in my life that I've had to sort out. And I'm also going to have a discussion on whether or not this is the right time to play your wildcard or not, and whether or not me personally, it's my time to play my wildcard. So that's coming up in this episode. So if you are new here, thanks for stopping by. And if this is not your first FPL First episode, what about giving a massive thumbs up to help support the channel? Anyway, let's get into the episode. Alright, so if you are new here, once again thanks for visiting my channel. On this channel I like to talk about EPL and FPL related subjects, giving previews, reviews and all kinds of news. So if this interests you, why not consider subscribing for future content and obviously push the notification button for when my uploads come online. So let's move on to the football, and the most anticipated game of the weekend saw Liverpool come away with a well-deserved 3 points against a weakened Spurs side who didn't seem ready for the fight on the day. And it seems this form has continued with last night's Champions League games, giving Liverpool a perfect start to the season, but a third straight defeat for Spurs away to Inter Milan. Are Spurs in a crisis? No, probably not. I think it's a bit soon to say that kind of thing, but they will need to kind of turn around their form, and they will need to rely on men like Kane and Son, who's just come back from the Asian Games, to kind of step up their games in order to turn around these woes which they are currently going through. They are playing Brighton on this weekend, so maybe that will be their sort of opportunity to turn things around. Bournemouth's scoreline surprised many with a comfortable win against a Leicester side who can't seem to keep their discipline, with their captain Morgan being sent off in this fixture. They played really well, Bournemouth, and all credit goes to them for the 4 goals they scored, but you know, they did have that helping hand of that red card, so it is yet to be seen whether or not they will take this form into the future, but the signs are looking good for Bournemouth. City, Chelsea and Arsenal all had fairly comfortable wins, with Crystal Palace and United made to work for their hard-earned 3 points respectively. West Ham got their first points of the EPL campaign against Everton, who have lost their way since losing Richarlison to suspension. So this is actually West Ham's first 3 points of their season, and I'm sure they'll be really happy with this result, considering Goodison Park is a hard place to go. And Monday's game saw Murray continue his impressive form in the EPL this season with a late goal to earn Brighton a point against Southampton. The best action was seen between Bournemouth and Leicester, whereby there was 6 goals in total and a game of basically taking chances. Both teams were fairly even in most aspects of the game, and even after Morgan was sent off for Leicester, they still had a lot of chances and scored both of their goals after that event. However, it was Ryan Fraser who came out as the man of the match with 2 goals and 1 assist, a very high return considering his cost in the FPL, and now has made me start to think about whether he should be in my FPL team. When you consider the fixtures that Bournemouth have got coming up too, there is a possibility that he will be continuing his form and get a lot of points in the near future, and considering he only costs 5.7, he could be a very good player to put in as a low cost midfielder. So, talking about the game, Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe said that we're delighted with the result, we were very effective, I felt we dealt with the physicality well and were efficient in front of goal. In contrast, Leicester's manager Puel said it was a tough afternoon, it was strange, not a fair reflection. It was a good start from us, we had quality on the pitch and we also had chances to score. And to be fair, this is kind of true. It wasn't a domination from Bournemouth. It was just literally the fact that they took their chances when they came to them. And Leicester, they only scored 2 late goals. And yeah, on reflection, Leicester probably were the better team if you want to take stats on the paper. But really, Bournemouth took their chances and it was a well-deserved victory in the end, in my opinion. So the shock of the week came at Goodison Park, whereby Everton was smashed at home by bottom of the league West Ham, who didn't look to have any hope coming into this fixture. However, clearly they made some radical tactical changes, and it showed with West Ham's midfield dominating the game, allowing for the forward players of Yarmolenko and Arnautovic to shine in this 4-goal thriller. Having said that, the stats can be a little misleading, as on paper, Everton will definitely be wondering how they haven't got anything from this game, but if you watch the highlights, it is clear that West Ham were the better team. Everton's manager, after the game, said of his players' result, "It's a tough result for us. A club like us to lose 3-1 at home is always tough. We have to react. There's nothing more to it. We have to react to the mistakes we made." And he has a fair point, because this was a game lost basically because of mistakes by Everton's players. And in contrast to this, West Ham manager, on his birthday, said about the first points of the EPL, "I think that we continued playing the same way we have done, but the best thing we did here, we went for the game from the first minute. We didn't wait for Everton to go." So clearly, he will be the more happier of the two managers, and it will obviously be a big relief to him the fact that he's now got the first points of the season on the board. So you are probably wondering why I have not mentioned Eden Hazard up to this point. Well, here it is. If we look at the top scorers of the week, he was obviously number one, and he was also my number one tip player 2 weeks ago. So I really hope you took my advice and put him in your team, as his return in the last 2 rounds has been 31 points. The other top performers of this week show Fraser, who I've already mentioned, and it also includes the West Ham duo, who shined this weekend too, as just mentioned before. So a quick look at Hazard's stats in the last 2 games, and it shows that he's attempted 6 shots, and he's also had 184 touches, with 5 of those shots being inside the box, and obviously a return of 4 goals. He's also had 6 attempts at assisting as well. He's looking in the form of his life, if you ask me, and if you are still waiting for Salah to get you these kind of points, then you may be too late, especially considering Salah got 2 points this game week. I personally have both in my team, but I'm not sure how much longer Salah will be in my team, as this rate of return, considering his price, is just not good enough. Anyway, I'll have more on my team later, when I'll go through a breakdown of this week's points for me. But based on Fantasy Football Fix, Hazard is expected to rise 0.1 million today, so if you want him in your team, you better hurry before that price rise. Alright, so after having 2 requests to see my team in a previous YouTube video, I have put on my full starting 11 for this week on screen. So in goal, I still have the Everton goalkeeper Pickford, who I have since then replaced since he has had such a poor start to the season with Everton. That's not necessarily his fault, but they are leaking goals. So he only got me 1 point again and conceded 3 goals. So I've now replaced him with Alisson, ready for game week 6. Next, I originally had Mendy in my starting 11, but considering he didn't even make the Man City squad, it meant that Wan-Bissaka came in and got me 9 points. Bennett also kept a clean sheet with Wolves, and I also had Alonso, who only got 2 points this week, which is kind of annoying because if you watch the replay of the Chelsea game, when Williams scores his goal, the pass actually comes from Alonso. Yes, it takes a deflection off the defender, but it still was a pass to Williams, so I'm kind of thinking that that should have been an assist. But anyway, he's been good in the previous game week, so I'm not going to be too bitter about it. So if we look into my midfield, and 2 players I want to get rid of soon, if I play my wildcard, is Neves and Mkhitaryan, as it seems that Neves is playing quite a deep role for Wolves, and he's only getting really long shots, so it doesn't look like he's going to get many points. And Mkhitaryan is now out of favour due to Lacazette having a great game against Cardiff and starting in the game against Newcastle too, so it looks like that he's going to probably be just a substitute from now on. I'm still also not decided on whether to keep Salah or not in my team, and this week against Southampton will probably be the game where I decide whether or not to keep him or not. If he does show the kind of signs that he had from last season, then I might consider keeping him. If not, then because of his cost, I think I might get rid of him, and there are plenty of other options which I'll go through later that could replace him. Hazard and Silva made up for where the others let me down in the midfield, giving me a very nice point return. And unfortunately, I didn't put Hazard as my captain this week. I instead went for one of my frontmen, who is Aguero. He was my captain this week, and he's obviously delivered at home in previous game weeks. And he did, to be fair to him, deliver with some assists this week, and unfortunately though, didn't get any goals himself. I also had to put in, reluctantly, Joselu of Newcastle. My thinking behind this was that Holebas was playing Man United, and I didn't think that he was going to get the same kind of freedom that he's been getting in previous games. Plus, Arsenal are always good for leaking a goal, and that was true. Unfortunately, it wasn't Joselu that got the points. So overall, it was a pretty good week for me. I did a lot better than the average points compared to other players. So after game week 5, I am currently lying 700,000th in the world, which is not great, but it is a long season, and I haven't played any of my sort of like wildcards or any of those yet, apart from my free hits. So I have still got time to turn this around. So on to wildcard talk, and it's been the kind of talk about social media and YouTube recently. I've seen a lot of YouTubers already play their wildcards, and I'm starting to think about it myself, mostly because Salah is 13 million, and with a point return nowhere near that of last year, I'm starting to doubt whether or not I keep him. If I remove Salah, it will free up about 3 million in terms of the next kind of best player in the position. So I'll be able to radically change my team. So I personally won't be playing my wildcard this week, as I'm praying Salah will come up good this weekend against Southampton. But if I don't play it this week, I will probably play it next week. And if I do this, I have kind of drafted the following players to potentially come into my team. So on screen you can see now that I've picked Mane, who would probably be the obvious replacement for Salah, as Liverpool are still scoring loads of goals. They're playing really well. I think they're undefeated so far in the league. So, where Salah is lacking the points for the FPL, Mane is currently picking up those points. So he would obviously be a very good replacement and would leave me some spare money as well. Lukaku also has started to show some form, as and for the fact that United had a poor start, it seems that Mourinho has started to turn things around there. And considering they have fixtures against Wolves, West Ham, and Newcastle in the next 3 games, he could be on for some good point returns. But I probably wouldn't get him until next week if I was to get him. Lastly, a player which is a must in all FPL teams, and someone I regret not putting in from the start, is Robertson. Unfortunately I went for Trent, and I took that risk, and the risk hasn't paid off because Trent hasn't gave the kind of same returns that Robertson has with his attacking threat. So I will definitely be putting him in my team somehow when I play my wildcard. And if you haven't already got him in your team, then he definitely should be a player you should have. So these are the more expensive options, but let's now look on to some cheaper options. And this sees Fraser and Wilson, both from Bournemouth, looking very good options, especially considering that they do not have a top 6 team until round 11 to play in the EPL. And they both have a lot of point scoring potentials considering their low costs. Lastly is Mitrovic, who seems to have found something good at Fulham, certainly better than his days at Newcastle, that is for sure. With 31 points, putting him second only to Aguero, he's a very good option for the price. However, with Arsenal, Liverpool and Chelsea all on the near horizon, Wilson, in my opinion, would probably be the better pick of the low cost strikers. So anyway, as it stands, I'm not going to play my wildcard this week, but if you are, then I believe that this is the kind of right time to play it, and you don't want to leave it too late and fall behind the rest of the leaders too quickly. So when I decide to play my wildcard, I think I will probably do a live stream whereby I will let you know exactly who I'm going to put in my team, who I'm going to take out, my thinking behind it, and obviously I will let you know when that live stream will be, so that you guys can give comments during the stream and let me know whether you think I'm doing the right thing, the wrong thing, and maybe I'll even change it during the live stream if you give me a good reason why I should. Anyway, I will have my Game Week 6 preview on Friday, so look out for that. And also, I'm in the process of making some short EPL documentaries based on certain kind of players. So, for example, one of those, I'm making a documentary on Son Heung-min of Tottenham. And basically I'm doing a documentary about how the recent Asiana Games basically gave him freedom from not having to do military service. So if this kind of thing interests you, then obviously think about subscribing to see these videos in the near future, and obviously click the notification buttons, as being a subscriber doesn't always mean you're going to get updates to my videos. Anyway, my Twitter is down below if you want to communicate outside of YouTube. And thanks for watching up till now. My name is Joe, and this has been FPL First.